dive into our rad new ep, we want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we record, the Wurundjeri people. We pay our respects to elders past and present and to the ongoing living culture of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people.
I am not ready, but here we are.
What's up and welcome to Girls Gotta Work podcast, where we share the rad, the bad and the mad reality of running a business. I'm Jordan and I'm a hot mess.
And I'm Hayleigh, a recovering awkward person.
And we are living proof that you can be a chaotic 20-something and still be a successful business owner. This week, we're going to be talking about the girls that get it and the girls who kind of don't get it in terms of running a business. But before we dive in, Hayleigh, welcome to our first episode of Girls Gotta Work.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited, Jordan.
How do you feel? Are you excited to be here? Are you dreading it? Are you nervous? How do you feel?
I'm so excited. We've been talking about this podcast for about a month now, and here we are, our first episode. And thank you everyone for joining us.
And also for listening to our rambles on Instagram and TikTok and everywhere else. And, thank you to our boyfriends for hearing us nonstop talk about this 24/7 for literally since we started.
Yes.
And to all of you listeners, thank you so much for joining us on our first episode. This is our first episode of the podcast, so full disclaimer, I'm going to be my peak hot mess self today.
Yes, definitely. And I will be awkward. I feel it now. Nah.
Now I'm like, I don't actually know how to do podcast things.
What is words? Like, what?
But also you look legit. We've got the mics, we've got some notes. We should be fine.
Yes. Come and check it out on our Instagram or TikTok, our cute little setup. I'm sure we'll be plugging it forever. I'm so sorry. You'll get sick of us, but hopefully not because you'll love it that much.
Yeah. Hopefully they don't get sick of us.
I take it back, love us.
I was going to say, that's not the first episode. You'll get sick of us, so.
Yeah, Cass, maybe cut that out. So you'll hear us refer to Cass a lot. She is our amazing podcast manager, and we'll see how much she cuts out and leaves in. But we love you, Cass, so please keep all our craziness in as much as you can.
All our craziness, but not our total descent into madness when I start laughing and inevitably can't stop for 10 minutes. So
yeah.
Because I feel like 10 minutes of laughter on a podcast probably isn't super entertaining.
No, definitely not.
So, as we're going to start every podcast, we're just going to chat about our weeks because the whole point of this podcast is to talk about the rad, the bad, and the mad reality of running a business, to go behind the scenes of our business, and also break down some barriers of it's not all that Instagram highlights reel. Running a business can totally suck sometimes. It can totally be amazing sometimes.
Yes.
So I'd love to know, Hayleigh, how was your week?
Whoa. Let's just start there. It's been really good. We've had an Easter long weekend, so we got some rest in, so that was really good. But it's just been chaotic. I am always busy, but I'm trying to delete that word from my vocab. I'm very lucky to have the amazing work that I do. But we also just went to a networking event, and as a recovering awkward person, it's really hard. Yeah. But I had to really work myself up to it, but I'm so glad I went. And shout out to By Creative Guidance for organising that. It was amazing.
Thank you, Charlotte.
But yeah, so that was mostly good, bad, mad.
All of the above?
All of the above. All the emotions this week. What about you, Jordan? How's your week been?
So I would love to say it's been a chill week. I am all about the chillpreneur lifestyle, but we've launched a fucking podcast this week. So yeah, it hasn't been particularly chill. We've done a lot of podcast prep to get this ready to go this week. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to say work-wise because podcast is still work, but I don't consider Girls Gotta Work as work. Scrunch is work now. Girls Gotta Work is more fun. Yeah. But no, scrunch-wise hasn't been too hectic. So yeah, the last week of the month is usually just getting content scheduled and, you know, sort of doing all the odds and ends that it's not the heavy creative stuff. So I have had a bit more time to focus on the podcast launch. But yeah, it has been crazy with those little odd jobs because I feel you always think you just have a couple of little odd jobs and it might just take a morning, and then you get trapped in your emails, and then you're booking discovery calls, and then you're like, it's 5:00 and I got nothing done that I wanted to do. And then podcast launch stuff as well. It has been a wild ride. Yeah, but
zoom into panic attack at 5:00.
Yeah. Zoom into a wine and window the Hayleigh at 5:00 being like, I just need a vent.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's been hectic, but I mean, I can't complain because we're launching a podcast.
Woo!
So today we're talking all about the girls who get it. We all know the ones. They run their own businesses. They totally get what it's like to run your own businesses.
Mm-hmm.
They know how it feels to love your business, but also sometimes kind of hate it sometimes. And it's one of the main reasons we started the podcast, because we wanted our own community of girls who do get it, so we can be a bit less alone and can bounce ideas off each other and also share all of the rad, bad, and mad realities of running a business. So that's why we thought this would be a great topic. It's great to kick off the show. So, Hayleigh, I've got a few questions for you.
So fancy.
So what pops up for you when we say the girls who get it, and the girls who don't?
Oh my gosh, so many things. Yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head. Like, it's in the title, the girls who get it. And like, the girls, the women, the families, the men who run businesses get it. And the ones who don't. I think with anyone you meet, you can relate to someone to an extent. But if you haven't lived through what they've lived through, if you haven't done the same things, gone to the same schools, had the same experiences, you'll never fully get it. And I think that's the difference between business owners and non-business owners. And sometimes I now catch myself like, people who work 9 to 5s, I can't always relate to their problems.
And I think that's a really good point as well, because it's not just we're business owners, like no one understands us. It does go both ways, because both of us have, friends and partners who work the regular 9 to 5, they work for someone else. And yes, we've done it, but we've both been in business for a while now, and it's really hard to relate, when they come home from work and they're like, oh, my boss was whatever, or like, oh, the traffic was awful, or whatever the complaint is. It's, we can empathize, but we don't fully get it anymore either. Yeah. So it does go both ways. Yeah, I
agree, because like when I was like an employee, I don't think I could have related to the people who run business at that time. Like, not to an extent, yes, but to an extent, no. I'm never going to fully understand their issues and their problems, and just runs the same in business and non-business owners.
Yeah, but I think one thing about just being human in general is that we always want to feel heard, we want to feel understood, and we want to find people who we connect with who do fully get it. And I think that's what we're talking about in this episode, is that when you do run your own business, there is so much that goes into running a business. Yeah. And people who aren't business owners don't quite understand that. So as we've already sort of touched on, our partners, our loved ones, all of the people who, as much as they love us, they can't quite get it because they don't run their own businesses. Like, why do you think that is?
I've been thinking about this a lot. I really think it comes down to like the values that we have. And for my partner, like, he couldn't think of anything worse than running his own business. Like, he's got a really good marketing job and he loves it. So for me, I'm like, no, I'll put in like, that saying, like, I quit my 9 to 5 to work 24/7. Like, I'm fully engrossed in that some days. And I'm like, I'm willing to put in this work now to set myself up to a different future, which isn't like working a 9 to 5, which isn't working for someone else. So I think it has a lot to do with our values and our interests and stuff like that. Like, my interest in my hobby, in my business, which is like a blessing and a curse. And for him, like, he couldn't think of anything worse than like continue to work at 10 o'clock on a Friday night. I like go to him, I've got an amazing business idea. He's like, no, Hayleigh, I'm not listening.
Switch off, God.
So I do think it's got a lot to do with that, just honest like values and the ability to do this. It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
And if I had told myself 2 years ago how hard it was, I probably would have been too scared. Yeah. But now I'm here, I'm like, I'm in it. I'm doing it.
And for the most part, you love it, which is huge as well. And I suppose, like, whether it's with Brett or family members or friends, like, how does it make you feel when they don't quite get it? You might be talking, as you said, the Friday nights are like 10 a.m., like even potentially, when you're about to jump into bed and like have a scroll on TikTok before you go to bed, and it's like, oh, so I've just got to tell you that.
All my business ideas ever.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, I just want to bounce something off you real quick, and it's like 2 hours later.
Yeah, sometimes it's disheartening, but I also get it. I need that kind of balance of people who don't get it or people who are willing to like kind of put me in my place and tell me to switch off, even though it's fucking the most annoying thing. To be told, just turn it off, like just switch off your brain.
I wish it was that easy.
It's really not. But I do, like, I need both. I need people to balance me out and tell me to calm down and tell me to switch off, because I probably wouldn't. But then this is exactly why we've created the podcast, so that we have the people who dream as big as us to talk to. So yeah, we need both.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think we totally need both as well. I think, especially all of the big ideas, it's like, I think you can understand and relate to the people who, you know, work for, like they're an employee rather than a business owner. I think you can relate to them with all the typical work stuff, like, oh, work was hard, or I had a lot of meetings, or, you know, I'm really tired because I didn't sleep well, so then work was really hard. Like, all of those things are really relatable across the board, but there are things that, it goes both ways in terms of things you don't understand.
I also think that it's about the language that we use. What I've noticed is people who don't run businesses always ask you how work is going. And if I was talking to you, I would say possibly how's work going, but how's your business?
Yeah.
I have completely two different answers to that question.
So if I asked you how's work going,
I would say I've got some great clients. I'm really busy. I've like had a big week. I've been doing a lot of work.
And if I asked you how your business is going,
I would say I'm meeting with a business coach. I'm growing it. I'm changing it. So I do think it has a lot to do with the language.
Yeah.
And that's where that disconnect comes in between girls who get it, and girls who don't. It's not in our friends and family's nature to ask us how our business is going. They ask us how work is going because that's what they want to be asked. They want to be asked how work is going. So.
And you do tend to mirror what, like, you put out what you want to get back. So, like, if you ask how's work going, it's because you're like, ask it back.
I want to talk about my work.
Please. And I think that does create a huge disconnect. And I'd love to ask, like, for you, what's the maddest disconnect you've felt between yourself as a business owner and a non-business owner partner or friend or family member? Like, what's the, like, craziest disconnect you've had?
Loaded question for episode 1, Jordan. Jesus.
Getting into it.
I think, again, back to the values, but also the drive.
Yeah.
Because I am working at 10 o'clock on a Friday night sometimes, and you're willing to put in the drive for what you want. And in saying that, people who don't run businesses have drives in other areas of their life. Yeah. So that's, again, values, hobbies, interest. You might value hard work, but you're happy to switch it off at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
But like my drive keeps me going past 5. But then in saying that, I'm not going to go to the gym at 5 a.m. or 10 o'clock at night because I'm too lazy.
Yeah.
But other people have drive to do that. So it's like where that drive is, I think, is the biggest disconnect I've seen.
And even the difference between, so, you know, say you're working at 10 o'clock on a Friday night, you know, people who are working for other people, like people who are working the regular 9 to 5 also might be working at 10 o'clock at night, but it's different. You know, if we're working at 10 o'clock at night, it's because we want to get ahead so that we can potentially, I don't know, take a morning off so that we can get coffee, or, you know, working at 10 o'clock because something came up throughout the week and we had to take a break and we're catching up, or maybe it's just we took on one too many clients because we have bad time management. I'm not adding myself at all here.
Yeah.
But it's different, whereas I think when someone else is working, you know, 10 o'clock on a Friday night and they're working a typical 9 to 5, they will probably feel way more resentful about it because whether it's someone else has put that workload onto them or whatever else, it's less control, I suppose. And it just, it's a completely different experience.
Yeah, definitely. And like if someone's unorganized in a work environment or an employee-based 9 to 5 environment, that's potentially on your employees or management's issue. Whereas like if I forgot to do something and I have to do it at 9 o'clock at night, then I have to do it because I got no one else to blame but myself.
Yeah.
But then again, like you said, like if I want to go out for breakfast on a Tuesday when I'm meant to be air quote working, I can, and I'll work a little later to make that happen.
Yeah, and it's the flexibility to do what you want.
Yes, love it.
Yes, that actually cuts really well into some things our listeners have sent in.
Ooh,
I say listeners
segment.
I was going to say, I say listeners, not that we've actually put out a podcast before this episode, but we are in some community groups. So huge shout out to the Wonder of community, because I asked you guys a huge question on this topic a few weeks ago, and you guys came in with some cracking answers, and we would love to cover some.
Yes, please tell me all the things.
One of the key things that we found in our Girls Gotta Work crew and in all of the communities we asked about this topic was the minimization of our work. So when people don't quite understand what's involved in running a business, we feel the like huge condescension of, you know, the just your business or your little business.
Oh my gosh.
Or like, that little side hustle. Like it's all there, you know, and it's, I genuinely don't think it comes from a bad place at all.
No.
But it's so minimizes everything we do. It feels condescending, and it's like, like
a little triggering.
Yeah, a little bit. And I know like you had...
Yes. So recently I went into a shop where the shop owner knew who I was, knew about Hayleigh AKA, my business. And obviously they're a shop owner, and I know that they're running their own business, and we were just making small talk. And she asked me, how's your little business going? And I could not inner rage more.
Yeah.
Because it was just so interesting that another fellow like business owner who's like not slumming it, but you know, working hard and making it work, minimized how I felt. And yes, we call our businesses small businesses because, you know, there's 1 to 2 of us running them. But I don't know why it triggered me so much, but it's like that minimizing our worth and our work.
Yeah.
Just
triggered.
I'm triggered now.
And you are not alone. So Annabelle from the One Roof community, this is what she sent in. So when we asked all about, you know, do you think the girls who get it, the girls who don't get it can get it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, she said, no, unfortunately, I don't think people who are not small business owners get it. I have most difficulties with people thinking I'm a disguised stay-at-home mum. They think, I know, it gets a lot more red hot. They think my business adventure is just a hobby that allows me to say something at a dinner party. Yeah. And it definitely does not help that I'm a coach working in a super niche industry. But having worked in corporate, I'm also able to understand like why they think what they think. They laugh off my 4-hour work days, but I also laugh off their 12-hour ones. My 4 hours are super organized. I don't lose a minute in meetings without no sense. That's just an example. But I remember in corporate how I could indeed spend 12 hours in my office building just because I had a breakfast, then a meeting, then a lunch, then another meeting, then drinks, etc., etc.
Oh my gosh, that just really feeds into that like hustle culture and how like corporate has driven what the standard work looks like.
And what productivity looks like. They think productivity means big hours rather than, as Annabelle said, like
an effective
4 hours. Yeah.
4 hours.
If you can be effective and do, you know, a typical, however long, I mean, I don't want to say a typical work day because I'm not about perpetuating that, but if you can do all of your work in 4 hours and then have more time for your kids and be there for assemblies and do, I don't even just, like, fuck it, go for brunch if you want to because you have the time. Why would you not choose that if you're getting all the work done, still earning the money? Like, and
creating the lifestyle exactly how you want it.
Yes. And I think that's where it totally, like, it gets really skewed when we're talking about productivity because, I mean, I'm so bad for it. I think productivity, if I have a half day, you know, I'll think, how so unproductive or, you know, whatever. It's like, I got so much done. I can get so much done in a half day that it's not that I had an unproductive day. I just had a short day. Yeah. And it's different.
Yeah. And just creating that lifestyle that you want and creating a business around that. And it is really hard to understand.
Yeah.
Because if you're not in it, you don't understand because we've been so conditioned to think a 9 to 5 is the way is the only way to make it happen.
Yeah. And I mean, even if I look back to when I was working my 9 to 5, if someone came along and like pre-scrunch, if someone came along and said like, oh, you know, I earn what you do, but I work 4 hours a day, I'd be like,
fuck that person.
Yeah, like, I was trying to think of a different way to say that, but literally, you'd be like, oh, fuck off. Like, there is no way that's, like, a disbelief that it's possible.
Yeah.
And also just a total, like, as if, like. Yeah.
We used to wear busy as a badge of honor.
Yeah. I mean. We're
Sometimes
trying
I
not
still
to.
do. I'm working on it.
But we are working on it. But the cool thing is, when you're on your own business, you can take that step back and be like, is busy a good thing?
Yes.
And have that perspective of like, oh, maybe it's not a good thing, but we can change that for ourselves. We can change that narrative and be like, we don't have to remain busy just to run successful businesses.
Yeah. And it's the belief system.
Yeah.
So when we're speaking to non-business owners, we have a different belief system, and we've created a belief system that is supporting us and our businesses.
Totally.
And if we're speaking to someone who has different beliefs, regardless if they're business owners or not, they're going to then put their beliefs onto you.
Yeah. 100%.
So that's exactly what's happening to
Annabelle. Yeah.
Yeah, Annabelle.
Yeah. I read that and I just got mad. I was like, get new friends.
Also, Annabelle, you're rocking it 4-hour days.
Hell yes. Yeah. Oh my God. Teach us your ways. Seriously. If you coach in our niches, please just slide into our DMs.
Yes, please.
Another really key thing. So apart from the minimization of our work, another key thing that comes up is the idea that just because we work for ourselves doesn't mean we're available 24/7.
Yes.
So when like your nan calls at 2:00 in the afternoon because you're surely free, you're on your own business, or when a girlfriend asks for a breezy brunch on a Tuesday and you're like, I still have to work. Like, I can't just write off a day. I mean, I would love to be able to write off a day to just have mimosas all morning, but it's not always possible. So I think, it's definitely the idea that just because we work for ourselves doesn't mean we're available all the time. Yeah,
correct. And that's the thing, like sometimes my boyfriend will have a public holiday off, which he's completely entitled to. That's his benefits. And he's like, what are you doing today, Hayleigh? And I was like, I plan to work because I want tomorrow off or something like that. So it's like, just because we have the time to create how we want doesn't mean we're doing it the same way as you.
Exactly. And so Emma McQueen, the beautiful coach, she also slid into the One Roof chat, and she had some really cool things to say about this. So she said, I think unless you are running a small business, you don't quite get it. The stress of everything being on your shoulders, especially in the early days, doing everything yourself, not hiring quickly enough to outsource the bits that don't play to your strengths, etc. And sometimes we self-sabotage. So, for instance, we don't set ourselves up for success because we don't have the boundaries we need. We work at home, but we do all the housework before we do our work. Or, we work at home and as, blends into our point, people drop in for a coffee and we let them because, that's just exactly what we do. Like, we don't want to be mean or anything.
Well, no one teaches this in school.
No.
Unless you're going to uni for business, like, no one teaches this, and it's values, like, to lean back into that. It's values that we hold about our businesses and the assumptions that we take on from others.
It definitely comes down to boundaries. So, as Emma said, we don't hold boundaries for our home situations, and that does, definitely play into, and it potentially exacerbates why people, do minimize our businesses. Like, I think all of these things that play into, the girls who don't get it is partly to do with the fact that we struggle to set our own boundaries, and we're navigating a world where there are so many more business owners and especially business women than there ever have been.
Yes.
So you're like, women in general are a huge stereotype here, but are typically worse at setting boundaries because we want to please people. Like, we want to, and like, it's not like we don't want to catch up with our mum for a coffee when she drops in. It's not like we don't want to do those things.
Yeah.
But, we think of everyone else's feelings first, and we're like, oh, if I say no, their feelings might get hurt. Or, like, how are they going to think about this? And that is the hard part about setting boundaries as well.
Get into business, they said. It'll be easy, they said. It's not.
It will be easy. But it's not all bad. So Mira, the beautiful Mira from Life of a Virtual Assistant, she has a really cool story, which is so nice to finish on a high note.
Yes.
So she said, I find that those in my age group around the 26 to 35 mark really understand what I do and get it. But anyone younger, or like my parents who are a bit older, really don't get it. Those that are in my age group love that I run my own biz, get what I do, and cheer me on for working only a few hours compared to a full-time office job. Those younger or older sometimes think I just sit around and talk shit all day. Which, I mean...
some days.
Is that not what we're doing now? But I think that's a really good point as well, because, like, it's, as much as we say, like, the girls who don't get it don't get it, I think that's true, but it doesn't mean that they support us any less, and it doesn't mean that, you know, they don't love us and they don't want us to have all of this. Like, I think it comes down to disconnect in values and expectations for business owners and non-business owners. But yeah, as Mira said, like, we can have, like, all of the people who aren't business owners love us and they support us and they want us to do the best we can. And it just comes down to having these real chats with them and being like, hey, you know, I've had this conversation with my partner a few times, like, hey, I understand that I am a bit hyper excited about this podcast, but I just need like 10 minutes to you don't have to listen. Like, you don't have
just nod, babe.
Yeah, just literally just nod. Like, I just need to tell you, and I need you to just like be excited for me, and then we can move on. Like, it's fine. But I think they love us so much, they're happy to do that. But it is about having those conversations, setting the expectations and setting the boundaries.
Yeah,
of, like,
both sides. Don't come at us. We get it.
Yeah, and we do get it. And we get that, you know, being mates with business owners, and heaven forbid being in a relationship with a business owner.
Oh my gosh.
Is hard. Like, it's challenging and it is different. But I think it all comes down to, no, people who don't run a business, they don't always get what we do and how it works. And that's why we do need people like, you know, we've got each other and now our Girls Gotta Work community. Like, we've got a community of business owners who do get it, and we need both.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And it's a teaching moment for everybody and anybody. Like, on both sides. We love our non-business owners, but we also love our business owners, and that's what this community is for, to create these conversations on both sides, to just understand our brains a little bit better. Yeah,
and I think it also comes down to, like, the best thing my mum ever said when I got into a relationship. So it sounds like a sidetrack. I promise it's not really.
We're here for mum advice. So.
Yeah, we're not going too far off-road. But one of the best things my mum has said to me is, your partner can't fulfill everything.
Yes.
You need different people for different things. Yes. And, you know, even if I've had issues with mates and I've been like, oh, you know, this friend isn't being here for me in this arena. And she's like, well, yeah, but, you know, your other friend is potentially here for you in this arena. You've got Alex, like my partner, who is here for you for all partner stuff. And then you've got, you know, other friends for different things. So she's like, do you need that friend who's potentially annoying you right now to fill that role? Or does another person fill that role for you?
Preach, mama, preach.
Yeah. Shout out to Leanne. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Leanne.
Yeah. But
that's
it is
really good advice.
Yeah, and I think we can all take that into, and, you know, business owners and non-business owners alike can take that into all of our relationships, especially in the business context, because we need business owners who do get it, that we can whinge about business things and not have them think we hate our business, or be like, oh, should you consider a full-time job?
Yeah.
Because, like, we don't want that, but we just need someone who we can vent to. But we also need
and
people...
not solve our problems.
Yes. But then we also need, as you said, like, you know, partners, friends, family, all of that, who are like, hey, you've sort of worked 80 hours this week. How about you take a break?
Okay, fine. Don't come at me now.
At Hayleigh.
Yeah, my boyfriend will be like, okay, come on, Hayleigh, it's time to pull back. And then he'll run me a bath. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'll stop talking about my business.
Oh my God. Yes, especially if the bath is already run for you. Add a glass of wine, chuck some Bridgerton on, you'll be fine.
We are set.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all we've got time for today, ladies.
Probably.
Before we wrap into our little fancy outro, I just want to say a big thank you for all coming along and listening this far. And I hope you girls, or ladies, women, men, everyone, business owners, non-business owners, have loved this episode as much as we have. And I'm just so thankful, and I think I speak for both of us, that you're here and you've listened this far, and we love you.
Yeah, like, I don't even know how long this episode is going to be, because we're clearly still figuring this out. But whether you've made it 10, 20, 50, hopefully not over an hour, that's definitely not what we wanted, but however long you've made it into this episode, we are so freaking grateful that you're here. We couldn't think of anything better than to have you guys in our community.
And next week we'll be jumping into our businesses. And,
we will.
Why we started the podcast. I mean, I feel like if you've listened this far, you already have a pretty good idea, but we're going to talk about the origin story.
Ooh, origin story.
Thanks so much for joining us on a wild ride into our business ownerships, and we're hoping you're feeling a little less alone than you were when we started.
And if you want to keep the good vibes rolling, come join the crew on Instagram and TikTok at Girls Gotta Work Podcast. And please don't forget to hit that subscribe button wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Until next time.
Bye!
Bye.